none of us would have expected and what took all of us by surprise is the fraud.
The collapse of FTX has sent shockwaves across the cryptocurrency industry.
Were you able to tell that there was something like off about Sam?
Sam's a weird guy, right? We saw that and we thought, oh, this guy's a genius.
Crypto platform FTX announcing the closure of an almost $421 million Series B1 funding round.
They seem like a company with a mission.
Caroline Ellison, the former CEO of Alameda Research.
Once it became clear that she had done things along with Sam that were probably criminal, it was not a friendly conversation anymore.
Officially pled guilty to charges of fraud.
You had a tweet that went viral recently, and I'll kind of read the beginning of it, which was, "Now, after months of recuperation from the craziness of the FTX collapse, I'm ready to tell my story." Why now? Adi, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
This one's gonna be good. We've been talking about this one for a minute now.
Oh yeah,
but
I'm really excited for it.
You've gotten a referral from by far the most important person that's ever walked in here.
Wait, who?
Toilet
Eric Zhu?
Toilet kid, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Eric Zhu.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Toilet, I don't know about toilet though. Is that his?
I call him Toilet
Oh,
Kid.
you go with
Yeah,
toilet.
Yeah, actually,
That's hilarious.
It caught on though, because now other people call him Toilet Kid. He loves it.
Am I allowed to call
Yes.
him that?
100%.
100%.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
Be flattered.
What's the origin of toilet?
Well, so I followed him before I knew anything about tech or startups, and I saw him like doing meetings like in his bathroom.
Oh,
in
yeah.
the high school
was viral
bathroom.
Oh,
on
the meme.
Twitter,
Yeah.
So like I just kept calling him like Toilet Kid in my head. Like I was like, because I knew he was a child.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I just started calling him that, and like more and more people started saying it. Right?
Oh yeah, no, that's a reasonable nickname given
Right?
the tweet.
And like he doesn't actually care about tech. So like he told everyone the only person he wants to meet in SF wasn't Sam Altman, it wasn't any of these people, it was just Toilet Kid.
Toilet Kid.
Yeah.
And he said that to so many different people.
Yeah.
He's not even joking.
I was like, I'd be done if I got him, and we did him. I don't know why I'm still here, but
Yeah.
it's like I accomplished everything I wanted to.
Well, I'm honored to have been referred by Toilet Kid.
Yes, it makes you the second most important person.
Second most important. Wow,
Yeah.
I'll take that.
So do you want to give an intro about yourself for the people that might not know?
Yeah, of course. So my name's Adi. I'm the founder and CEO of Astra. We're a company that's building a universal connectivity layer for crypto markets. And before that, I was an engineer at Alameda Research, a small trading firm that you guys may have heard of.
Small trading firm.
Yeah.
It's
And
like when people go to Harvard and they're like, yeah, I go to a liberal arts college.
It is small because
Boston.
they managed all their assets through Google Docs, so it is a small trading firm.
That's not true.
Right?
Not quite docs, but
Dude, you have the worst info. Every single episode, he's like, yeah, it's crazy because like, and he just says something that's not true.
it's not true.
Got bad intel, bro.
Bad
From
intel.
who?
Who gave you that?
I need a deep fake security thing. Shout out Omar.
Why?
Just plugged one of our studio companies.
Oh, it's one of the startups.
Portfolio companies.
Oh,
yeah.
nice. What are
See
they
how I
doing?
did
Like-
that? Who's doing the game like this?
Sometimes it's good to think about why no one's doing something the way they're doing it.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
No, but your statement is relevant because it wasn't Google Docs, but the company was a little bit unconventional in how we did things. And when I say the company, I'm talking about one Alameda, but also FTX, because really they were quite closely related in many ways. A lot of which is going to be coming out during the trial. But not Google Docs, but it was. We did not have a super sophisticated kind of like risk system like a lot of more traditional trading firms might have had.
You had a tweet that went viral recently, and I'll kind of read the beginning of it, which was, as an engineer at Alameda Research, I had my entire life savings stolen from me by my former boss, Sam Bankman-Fried. Now, after months of recuperation from the craziness of the FTX collapse, I'm ready to tell my story. My first question is, why now?
Why now? That's a good question. So the answer is that, I thought about kind of going a bit more public with my story, as long back as sort of shortly after the collapse. But it just didn't seem like the right time with everything going on. I mean, all of us were really caught by surprise, right? We had no idea about all this stuff that had been going on behind the scenes. We were told about what had been going on by Caroline in basically a confession.
And Caroline was his girlfriend.
Caroline primarily was the CEO of Alameda, but also she had a relationship with Sam that was like an on again, off again thing. But just in the middle of the whole collapse, like I was pretty overwhelmed, right? I was trying to process all this new information, all these folks that I have worked with, and who I know personally, their faces are now all over the news. And so processing that took some time. It took me some time just to just chill for a few months and collect myself and think about what had happened. And it's been long enough now at this point that I feel a bit more comfortable speaking out. Also, the trial's coming up, and I feel like it's my responsibility to, in some sense, make some things known in terms of my experience at this company, and what were these people like? Like, what was Sam like? What was Caroline like? What was it like living in the Bahamas? Right? It was a wild and crazy experience, and I just want people to know.
All right, let's start from the beginning then.
Yeah.
How did you end up working at Alameda in the first place? Because you were in Berkeley until 2 years ago.
So I graduated from Berkeley in 2019.
Okay.
I went to work at Google. I was there for a few years, and I wanted to leave to work on something a bit newer and more exciting, right? So I applied to a bunch of places, a lot of trading firms, and one place in particular was this, small trading firm that no one had heard of. This was back in mid 2021, and I'd only heard of Alameda because of a friend of mine from Berkeley was mutual friends with Nishad Singh, who ended up being head of engineering at FTX and recently pled guilty to I think one or possibly a few of the charges that have been levied against him.
Crazy rap sheet at Berkeley, bro.
Yeah. Did you guys see the tweets of taking screenshots of Nishad's LinkedIn going around on Twitter? That was a thing for a while after the collapse.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but I knew someone who knew him, and so that that kind of helped me know about the company. That helped make the intro to the company. And I just did the interview process, went through that, and all the people I spoke to at the company seemed like just really intelligent, really motivated, really nice people, right? It seemed like a company with a mission. I'm sure you guys have heard about the whole effective altruist thing, it was really deep in the DNA of the company, right? And that's something that it did come across, right? Just talking to them, it was a big part of the recruiting pitch. And yeah, I love that, right? I wanted to work at a company that had a mission, right, and was trying to make money and use that to do something good. So I thought it was very compelling, right? I was very drawn to that idea, and it just seemed like a really cool, exciting company to work at.
And then what was your first month like?
The first month was just like onboarding with any company, right? Getting up to speed on the tech stack, just getting used to the actual object level work, how to get stuff done at the company. It was my first month was in the office at Berkeley.
The
there was
next to K's?
Exactly.
Oh,
The
they had an
K's.
office in Berkeley.
Yeah, that was the first office. So that's where the company started in Berkeley in 2017.
Okay.
I actually back in summer of 2017, I used to work at an internship that was literally right next door to that exact office. So it's kind of funny to think I might have crossed paths with these folks way back then.
That's crazy.
Interesting. And then who was Sam at that point? Was he already famous?
This was there'd been some coverage of FTX and Alameda in the news, but nothing like what it came to be a few months after that.
So just the typical TechCrunch launch that
Exactly.
people do when they raise.
Yeah. So it was people knew about the existence of FTX, and it was a big name within crypto. But if you're not in crypto and you're not in trading, you probably hadn't heard of it at all, right? That's what it was like back then.
Yeah.
And so what was this about, this weird relationship between Alameda and FTX? Did you see that in the beginning as well, or was that something that only kind of hit you later?
Yeah. So the thing about it's they were separate companies, right? And they were, I'm sure there were different legal entities. I mean, I'm not too knowledgeable about that aspect of things. But it was, it's funny. Socially, the companies were very, very mixed, right? So I got to meet several of the employees of FTX. Socially, we would have joint hangouts. We would have joint just social events, right? Employees sometimes lived in the same housing spaces in the Bahamas, for example, and also in Hong Kong. So there were kind of fuzzy boundaries, right? And I think really it's a larger symptom of the fact that, Sam and Caroline and the other folks did not really pay close enough attention to separating things and making things proper in the way that it should have been for two firms of that size handling that kind of trading volume and that number of users.
And so then what were the mission differences? What was the actual differences between Alameda and FTX?
Well, the actual work of the companies is completely different, right?
What was it?
So Alameda was a trading firm. We did all kinds of trading. We did market making. We did, kind of just standard statistical arbitrage across exchanges and, on individual assets across time. FTX was an exchange, right? So it's a place that people go to actually perform their trading, buy and sell various crypto assets. FTX runs a matching engine that matches these trades together and actually executes those trades and settles those trades. So they're two very different businesses, but I guess in the same space of crypto trading.
And so when you started off, it was this like office in Berkeley. At what point did you guys end up, like there was a little stint in the Bahamas, you guys were in Hong Kong. When did that all happen? Did you know it was going to happen when you joined?
Yeah, so the timeline, actually, when I was joining the company, the application form said, are you willing to relocate to Hong Kong? And I checked yes, because I was fully expecting that I'd be moving to Hong Kong and working in the Hong Kong office.
Gotcha.
But it's funny, actually, right after I joined, I was in the process of applying for a Hong Kong visa, and then I was about to go through that process, and then one of my coworkers in the Berkeley office tells me, "Hey, didn't you hear the company is moving to the Bahamas?" So it's a good thing I didn't start doing that. Actually, one of my coworkers, he had finished the visa process. He had booked his flight ticket. He was about to go to Hong Kong.
Wow.
He had to cancel his ticket because the company decided to move to the Bahamas. So
Why?
that should give you an idea of
What
the
was
level
the-
of or the lack of communication that existed for lots of things at the company.
What was the primary reason?
Primary reason was right before that, the Bahamas passed a regulatory framework for digital assets, right? Something that most countries have not done. I mean, notably, the U.S. has not really passed a comprehensive regulatory framework for digital assets. We have existing laws from the 1930s that are being used right now to regulate on crypto assets, but we don't have any rules that are specific to crypto assets. So the Bahamas passed that in I think mid to late 2021. So it made perfect sense for FTX, which is a crypto exchange, to move from Hong Kong, which at the time, this was right after the Hong Kong protests, right?
Yeah.
So lots of political instability in Hong Kong. Who knows kind of how much influence China is going to have over Hong Kong in the future. And of course, China is famously anti-crypto, right? So yeah, they were looking for a new place, and the Bahamas had laws around crypto, so they decided to move.
Were you able to tell that there was something going wrong, or where there was something off about Sam?
I mean, Sam's a weird guy, right? Sam is a unique person. I think if you watch just any of his interviews, you get a sense for just his personality and the kind of person he is. Sorry, I mean weird, not in a sense of I don't mean that necessarily in a negative way. He just has
It's strange, different.
I mean he has a unique personality, right? I think the best way to see that is just watch any of his interviews, and you'll get a sense for kind of the way he talks, the way he thinks, and so he is unique in many ways, right? I mean, first of all, just the fact that he sort of was the founder and I guess majority owner of these two multi tens of billions of dollars companies, which he managed to build in the span of a few years, right? I mean, there's something going on there. I guess you could call that unique. You could call it there's a lot of words you could use for it, but there's something there, right? There was something happening there. And for me and for a lot of people, I mean, everyone at the company, we saw that and we thought, oh, this guy's a genius, right? This guy, he has cracked the code. He's figured something out that nobody else has been able to figure out in the startup community. And what added to that was the fact that he had this mission, right? The effective altruist mission, which is a very compelling idea to anyone who is sort of, working in the space, building startups, building tech, wanting to do good.
What is the effective altruism?
Yeah, so I guess I'll give you kind of a short version of it, which is I'm sure there's resources online that tell that much better than I can. But the idea is basically that there's a lot of ways that you can do good, and we should be thinking about which of those ways are most effective, as measured by I guess you can measure things like number of lives saved relative to each marginal dollar donated, for example, or you can measure things like just how many quality adjusted life years are you adding as a whole, for each action that you're taking. So that's kind of the broader framework. But specifically, what that means concretely is folks like Sam and Caroline and others were really into the idea of making a lot of money and then donating that money to effective causes. And it's something that they talked about a lot, both internally as well as externally to people outside the company.
Yeah.
And it was a big part of the DNA of both companies.
Do you think that helped the most when raising money and kind of gaining trust of these? I mean, he had so many celebrities. Like Kevin O'Leary was how I learned about SPF. Yeah, because he spoke about
'cause he was
SPF
one of those,
on the
spokespeople.
mainstream,
Yeah.
MSNBC, and he's like, this kid is going to be the next, obviously unicorn founder, superstar.
Right.
Like his parents are both Stanford educated.
like he's got a good foundation. Like I trust this guy with all my money. Like
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's what a lot of investors thought. I mean, just read. There's this funny like article that Sequoia Capital posted right after they made their investment in FTX. It was a significant investment, and it's just funny reading through that and like all the praise that they're heaping on Sam.
Yeah. It's like he was gaming or something, right? During the
League of Legends.
Yeah, exactly. The thing about him playing League of Legends while taking the investor call is like just a classic example of, you know, seeing something a certain way beforehand and then realizing that you were completely wrong and that actually it was the exact opposite, right? And that's a realization that all of us had, and it was a hard realization, right? I mean, all of us paid a lot for it, just in terms of like, you know, obviously there was financial loss that many of us sustained. There was, you know, just the fact that we sort of wasted so many years of our lives dedicating our time and energy towards this company and this person and this cause. So yeah, like all of us had that realization, and I guess what none of us would have expected and what took all of us by surprise is the fraud, right? The fact that this person who seemed so genuine, who seemed so nice, would have gone to such lengths to pursue this mission.
So then when did you start finding out things were broken? So you joined, when was it that you joined Alameda?
I joined in mid to late 2021.
Mid to late 2021. And then when did stuff start to go wrong?
I mean, it's let's see, I'm trying to think back to like, you know, there's like all these, you know, little things that are not like bad, I guess, and not illegal, but just like strange and kind of silly.
Like what?
In terms of the companies spent a lot of money on a lot of things that they didn't need to spend money on,
like
right?
What?
I mean, as an example, our housing in the Bahamas, incredibly opulent. We lived in, you know, 5-star accommodation. It was incredible. We lived in, we had a bunch of the employees had space in Albany, which is this really fancy resort in Nassau in the Bahamas, where a lot of celebrities live. Right, it's like there's a recording studio that we all live next to.
Oh yeah,
where Jay-Z
Tiger
and
Woods
Beyonce.
and Oprah live
Yeah.
there.
I mean, I watched Tiger Woods like literally driving a golf cart by me.
Yeah.
One of my friends
one
was in
morning.
the Bahamas with you guys, and he saw Justin Bieber having breakfast.
Oh, really?
Like a few times.
Yeah. So that's the kind of thing where, like, you know, did we really need to shell out that much money and put up the employees in that kind of accommodation, or could we have just done something more reasonable?
But that was your office, right?
That was not the office. That was the living quarters, which was a short drive from the office.
But what's the difference between that and like everybody building all these extravagant
Well,
tech compounds with free food and 5-star accommodations? I'm just saying.
It feels like, in one hand, you want to attract talent, right? And one of the ways you attract talent, it's not just the salary, because everyone can match the salary. But then the next level is like, now you get to work out of a really cool office space. We give you these perks so you don't have to worry about things. We're like buying your time for you.
You guys work harder. I mean, as
less
the
things
appeal,
to worry about,
right? Yeah.
No, I agree. The question is just like, was all of that worth it, given the fact that behind the scenes there was fraudulent use of customer funds going on, right? That's the question that I have. And yeah, I mean, this is one example, sort of the fancy living accommodations.
Yeah.
But there's many more of just, you know, dumb decisions that the companies made that honestly didn't need to have been made.
I remember I had a friend that worked out of the EA. I forget what the organization was called. It wasn't Alameda, but there was one that was on Frat Row. It's like they bought a house in Frat Row, like a sorority house, and they converted it into like a daycare type thing for these like really smart high schoolers.
Okay.
And so I'd drive by, because he worked out of there, but he lived nearby. And so I'd go pick him up, and I'd see these like S classes parked outside all the time. I'm like, yo, what do you got going on in there? Yeah. And he's like, that's just the airport pickup. Like they fly these kids out on business or first class flights from like Hong Kong or Japan or wherever it was.
Yeah.
And then they get picked up in S classes from the airport, dropped off. Like there was like 6 of them.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah.
The whole thing is just like, where does all the money come from?
Right. Yeah. And that's the question that maybe we should have asked. I don't know. I mean, obviously, like in hindsight, there's so many things that it's very easy to ask after the fact, like, you know, like, why didn't this trigger any red flags among accounting or whatever it is, right? But in the moment, you just think, oh, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah.
What else were some of the things you got to do then while you were on the team?
I mean, like, the travel was nice, right? Just being able to travel between the offices, living in this, you know, beautiful, like island country, you know, just beautiful environment, amazing people, and working with really incredible people. I mean, I like my coworkers were great. Right, I learned a ton at the company. a lot that I'm even using now at my current company, right? And you know, it was there's more stuff of just like funny incidents and stuff that I have to say that I'm planning to post some tweets on at some point in the
Can we
future.
get a sneak peek on some of them?
Yeah. So the next tweet that I'm planning on posting, hopefully sometime in the next week or so, is about this incident that happened actually the week I joined, or possibly the week after, which was basically a trader at Alameda fat fingered a trade. Like they literally typed in the wrong number and they pressed enter. They like typed in a few extra zeros or something, and they sold a shit ton of Bitcoin at a really bad price. And there was a flash crash in the price of Bitcoin from, I think it was maybe 50 or 60K all the way down to 8K on, I think it was Binance maybe. And this was a price movement that everybody saw across the world.
Yeah.
It was all over Twitter.
He really fat fingered it?
Yeah.
sure?
It was
Come on.
Well, the company lost tens of millions of dollars. So
But how much did he make?
How much? He also lost money. He lost money. The company lost money. Like he doesn't make money if the company loses money.
Okay,
Right?
okay.
He's an Alameda trader.
Crazy.
He just bought the bottom.
I mean, but
No,
you could think, yeah.
He bought the top. I don't, yeah.
But,
it
what
was
if
a bad
he
trade.
went and bought a bunch of like AK after that?
A bunch of AK.
Like it dropped from 50 to 8.
Oh.
He's like, all right, time to buy.
Oh,
Dumped in.
I'm sure we did some like
Something, yeah.
arbitrage trades after, but like that was like that sort of didn't make up for the fact that we had just like literally he had
Yo,
sold
destabilized
Bitcoin
the
at a
Bitcoin.
terrible.
Does Sam get
Yeah.
angry? Like, is Sam like, would he comes down on people?
No, I mean, actually no, right? Well, at the time it was Caroline who was kind of handling
Okay, so
operations. for
she
Alameda.
handles, yeah.
What was she
And
like?
I mean, she's a like she was, I guess, a reasonable boss in terms of like just being, like she's not someone who would get angry for something like that. She, was much more of the mindset that like let's learn from these mistakes and fix them and make sure it does not happen. So that's what we did, right? We implemented some better checks so that when a trader places a manual trade, that kind of thing does not happen.
Gotcha.
But just the fact that for so long that check had not been in place,
Yeah.
that's kind of ridiculous, right?
That's crazy.
So that's a great example of the kind of thing where that would have been done many years ago at a traditional trading firm, but at a place like Alameda, we kind of waited for shit to go wrong, and then we patched it in sort of the easiest and quickest way possible, and then the firm would keep running, and then that would keep going until the next big event or the next loss or the next hack or whatever.
So then now let's kind of fast forward a little bit. What were some of the main kind of like key events that made FTX crash?
Well, there's really, the answer is there's really one key event. I mean, there's lots of things that people will say caused the crash. That people will say that CZ from Binance selling FTT caused the crash. But that didn't cause the crash, right? What caused the crash is the fact that Sam took $8 billion of customer funds and used that to bankroll a bunch of risky venture investments that were outside of Alameda's and FTX's core business without telling anybody at the company, except for his core group.
Why?
Right? That's
Why would he do
What's
that?
the motivation?
why. Well, you have to ask him. Unfortunately, he's behind bars right now. I mean, we can speculate. We can speculate
Right,
as to
yeah.
what his motivation might have been.
I'm sure
right?
you guys speculated internally on what.
Oh yeah.
What
yeah.
were you guys thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I all the information I have to go by is basically like, all the stuff that I've seen post the collapse, right? But my guess is that if you watch a lot of Sam's interviews, he talks a lot about this idea of linear wealth preference. I guess there's a lot of lore here, right? There's kind of EA lore, utilitarian lore, and then Sam specific stuff, right?
Okay.
But the short version is that Sam was someone who believed that if someone gave you a bet where if you take the bet, then with 50% probability you double your money, with 50% probability you lose all of your money, right? That's
Sure.
a bet that
Yeah.
for most people with small amounts of money, that's a bet that you might take because worst case you lose that small amount of money, best case you double it, that's great for you.
Yeah.
Most people would not take that bet if you're dealing with a huge amount of money.
Yes.
Especially if that money is other people's money,
Yeah.
right? One of Sam's core beliefs was that you almost always take the double or nothing bet. So he believed that the way that you act in terms of risk with small amounts of money is the same as the way you should act with large amounts of money. In terms of your
Does that make
your
sense
risk
to
tolerance.
your kind of like your betting strategy?
It does. It's the thing of like, would you take 100 million or flip a coin for $1 billion.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's like the correct answer is you flip the coin.
Yeah. The correct answer,
Right?
if you're trying to maximize, if you're trying to maximize your expected future value, right? If you're playing to maximize EV, then the best thing to do is to probably take the bet. And Sam believed that when you're operating a company, no matter what the size, no matter what the size of funds you're dealing with, you always take actions that maximize EV.
It's just the fatal flaw in that logic is you sometimes you're going to lose a lot, and over the course you're always going to win out when you maximize EV, as in over a few hundred placements. But when you do something like that,
and you go to jail,
you just don't have. You don't have another.
You can't play the game anymore, right?
Yeah, it's like you would have needed 800 billion to properly prove this.
Yeah, if he had infinite money, sure, that would have worked, right? But the point is that he was constrained, and the risks he was taking were outsized, even relative to the very large amount of money he did have.
You think that's just an ego thing of like, I've been right so many times, I know this is gonna work?
Yeah. I think it could be. It very well could be an ego thing. It also, I think, is just a Sam thing. I mean, that's something that even before the company was as big as it was when it collapsed, that was a very consistent part of his philosophy, right? That's how he was thinking early in the company's life. That's how he was thinking, around the time when I joined. He's written a bunch of documents, just internal documents for folks to read, for new employees to read when we're onboarding and joining the company. And, you just read this going as far back as 2017, 2018. He's saying the same stuff, right? Which is that he believes you should always maximize expected value. And I guess the kind of worked for him.
That's what
until
it clearly worked.
Yeah.
Right? It's like they had unparalleled returns compared to market average.
Right,
And
yeah.
you know a little bit about obviously the space.
Yeah.
And the investing part of it.
Yeah. But I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me.
No?
None of it makes sense to me, to be honest.
Like when I'm interested because you were, I guess, outside looking in, working in crypto.
Yeah.
And then you were obviously reading the news on the returns.
Yeah.
And how well they were doing.
It was strange because if you were to just look at their numbers, you would think something's wrong. But there was also like yield farming, like things in crypto existed to where it's like, all right, it's just like at this point in crypto, you can put money in and get outsized returns.
Yeah.
But the weird part was like Kevin O'Leary and like all of these like famous celebrities backing it, and like people I knew like that weren't very technical, that weren't crypto native at all, were also using FTX. Like that part really kind of messed
FTX
with
Arena, which was I think the Miami Heat, where the Miami Heat play. Like when they got that, it was like, oh, the credibility.
That's when it went mainstream, right?
Right.
Like with Rari, like people. So for context, I worked at Faye. We merged with Rari Capital.
Okay.
And so we had our fuse pool, and like we knew like people on the team were like leveraged, but they were making so much money off the returns.
Yeah.
That makes sense in my head because it was like this obscure kind of like crypto thing that not many people know about. You're kind of exploiting it. But then when you look at something at the scale of FTX, that was weird.
Yeah. Well, it's a similar sort of thing, right? I mean, what you said about yield farming, like that was a huge part of Alameda's business, right? We were one of the, I think, biggest yield farmers that existed, when that was big that summer. So yeah, it was a lot of, like the firm was really good at noticing when a new thing was taking off and jumping on that as soon as possible, much faster than any of the competition, right? And just doing that again and again and again over the course of, what was it, like 5 years or so.
So you guys didn't find this stuff fishy, as far as like, obviously you were doing well, you're an engineer, and you're seeing the numbers. It's like, you were like, no, we're just better at this.
Oh no, I mean the company, like the company was, both companies were highly profitable, right? Alameda was a very profitable, very successful trading firm. FTX was a very successful exchange. I mean, being an exchange is sort of the best business model in crypto, right? Which is, you give people easy access to markets, and you're compensated with a fee for every trade, right? It's kind of the best possible business model there is within the space. So yeah, both were, they were real companies. They were making real money. They were, genuinely highly successful, which is what makes it even more sad about the collapse, right? Is that they they didn't need to take all these extra risky bets. The company was a money printer that they could have kept running and kept growing, but they decided that that was not enough.
So you guys would still be around if Sam didn't make those.
We could have, yeah. I mean, there's sort of debate around, there's some stuff that might come out in the trial about like, should Alameda have been better at hedging our bets or whatever, right? But really the, I mean, like the higher level picture is that, both companies I think would be alive if Sam and Caroline and Nishad and Gary had not decided to make these ridiculous risky bets with customer funds.
Also, like quant firms in general are just like known for insane amounts of money. Like HRT. Well, I had a friend who had an internship at HRT over the summer, and the videos he would send me, this dude was like in the tallest, like I don't know, maybe them. It was in one of those like really high skyscrapers, 60th floor. It's like a ball pit, and just like on one floor it's just like sushi for the whole company, and the second floor it's like pizza for like insane amounts of spending. They put him in like this apartment that was like $6,000 a month, and it was like company housing for the summer.
Yeah,
and so I guess that also kind of changes, like warps your perspective, just like all other quant companies.
But correct me if I'm wrong, aren't they known for like working with a really, really big amount of capital and making small margins, but they're making it off of a ton of money. So obviously it's profitable. Like they're not taking ridiculous risks. Quant firms.
Yeah, usually, well, like I said, it depends on the type of firm.
Yeah.
But yeah, typically like a firm like Alameda is trying to be as close to delta neutral as possible. So they're not really looking for any significant exposure to a specific asset or sector.
Like that's how I always viewed quants. Is like you're working with so much money and you're good at making this consistent margin and compounding. Like you're never gonna lose because you're always playing.
Makes sense.
Yeah, you're hitting singles and you're not making wild bets.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
getting overexposed.
Yeah. That's how most quant trading firms work, and that's also how Alameda's core business works. Right?
That's how you guys built it, right?
Yeah. That was the core trading business exactly. And all of these, what I'm describing as risky bets that were taken. These are things like, read some of the like the DOJ sort of documents, right? I mean, there's some crazy stuff. They spend, I think it was $2 or $3 billion on stock buybacks from Binance because they wanted to, I guess they had too much cash on their hands and they wanted to buy back stock from one of the early investors. It was about $1 billion spent on a Bitcoin mining company, right?
That's crazy.
Why was that needed? I guess I don't know. They decided to. I think there was some trade that they were trying to do where they bought a Bitcoin mining company and then they shorted like perps or something like that to lock in that spread. But that was, $1 billion, right? And then there was at least $1 or $2 billion spent on various venture investments. There was FTX Ventures. They were spending tons of money on new L1 projects, on all kinds of new protocols. So just add those up, and that's like several billion. And that's money that was not related to either being an exchange or doing trading in any way.
So then now let's talk about kind of like the crash and what it was like for you. What was the day that you found out? Was it when it was hitting the news cycle?
We found out basically the day before it hit the news.
This was last summer?
This was in November of 2022.
So last winter.
Last winter.
Wow. So you found out the day before?
Sort of. Yeah.
But were there like rumblings internally of like something's kind of the wheels are coming off?
Like the couple of days before we found out. Yeah. That's when it was like, okay, something's going on, but we're still not sure what.
You're not sure. Okay.
To give you a picture of what that looked like. I mean, it was. We were all in Hong Kong at the time. At least Alameda folks were all in Hong Kong. Caroline was in Hong Kong. Sam was in the Bahamas along with most of FTX. And to us, it just seemed like a really busy week of trading, right? Because there's a few things that had happened leading up to this. There was, the debate between Sam and Eric Voorhees about crypto regulation and the future of crypto. And Sam was widely considered to have been kind of crushed in that debate. Rightly so. I think he did not do a good job of representing his position. So that was kind of a big PR hit for the company, right? There was this policy proposal that Sam proposed around like DeFi regulation that was very poorly received because it was seen as kind of unfairly advantaging FTX. That was a big hit, right? There was Alameda's balance sheet leaking, and people were kind of wondering why does Alameda have so much FTT on their books. That was one thing. And then CZ announcing that he was going to be selling Binance's stake in FTT. So all of this stuff happened that week leading up to the collapse, right? So for us internally, it was like, okay, we're seeing all this FUD online. People are talking about this on Twitter. But it's nothing we haven't seen before, right? We've seen this kind of stuff on Twitter before. I
was going to say, this is commonplace. Obviously not at this scale, maybe.
Yeah.
But like this stuff
in general,
happens in crypto
everyone's always like bad. Like there's always
everyone's always bashing like everyone else. And it's fairly typical.
Yeah.
And at that point, we still had no reason to suspect that anything was going on apart from just like, busy markets and like a lot of FUD on Twitter. So for us on the inside, it was just a busy few days of trading, right? I mean, on my part as an engineer, I'm kind of helping just build and maintain the trading systems, making sure that those are still running and still live. We're able to place trades.
Yeah.
For the traders, it's sort of, dealing with these crazy volatile markets, right? And this is what it's like leading up to basically the day before Caroline's confession, which is, this preceding day, just randomly out of the blue, we see this Twitter post from Sam saying that Binance was going to be acquiring FTX. And this was the first sign for any of us that something was going on. Because just given the situation, given what had been happening the previous week, for Sam to now say that Binance was buying FTX there was no internal communication whatsoever about this.
Yeah.
Right? We knew something was going on. We didn't know what, but there's no way this is a normal sale. Like, it's not like we'd just been acquired and we're all like super happy about that. We could tell that it was a fire sale, right? So that was the first indication for us. And the following day, we all come into work and Caroline is kind of frantically telling us to withdraw capital from all of the exchanges we trade on and move that to FTX so that we can meet FTX withdrawals, because people are trying to pull their money out of FTX.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a crazy day of just like literally selling all of our positions, taking all of our, all the capital we have on all the exchanges, all of our collateral, moving that to FTX. And we do this the whole day until we have no money left on any exchanges. And we're just sitting there wondering, like, okay, what do we do now? And Caroline, this whole day, she's been in this meeting room in a corner of the office taking calls. She's not been on the trading floor with us. And we're just waiting and being like, okay, like, what do we do now? And in the evening, Hong Kong time, she comes out. We have the all hands meeting that was scheduled to happen at that time. And she basically comes clean to us, right? She says, yeah, the company was highly leveraged. We had taken out these huge amounts of loans and used them to make very risky venture investments. And she gave us some examples of those. And she said those loans got recalled when the Luna crash happened. And there was no money to pay him back because we'd already invested that money. So they took FTX customer funds and used that to pay it back.
So the Luna crash is a big part of this.
It's a part of it in the sense that it made the company need to return those loans, right? I guess they technically could have kept those loans, but they were all open term loans, and so they got recalled because of the Luna crash. Not because of the crash didn't affect us that badly, but the folks that we had taken loans from, it affected them really badly. So they needed the money back.
Yeah.
What was it like for you then to kind of be on that floor as she's saying that the whole company just went down or is about to go down?
It was wild. I mean, all of us were just sitting on the floor in a circle, right? Caroline was on a beanbag. She was kind of crying a little bit, right? And it was a very tense atmosphere. All of us, like, as soon as we realized kind of the scale of what she was talking about, the tone kind of immediately changed, right? At first we were like, okay, like, let's try to understand what's going on. But once it became clear that she had done things along with Sam that were probably criminal, it was, we grilled her, right? We asked her like tons of questions. It was not a friendly conversation anymore. And all of us just wanted to know, like, we had questions, right? All of us were equity holders in the company. What's going to happen to our equity? We have deposits on the platform. What's going to happen to those? Are we going to get paid our salary like at the end of this week?
Yeah.
Are we still going to get our bonuses at the end of the year? Right? Are we like do we just like leave the country and go back home? And if so, like, who's going to pay for the flights?
Kong,
right? Yeah, we're in Hong Kong.
That's crazy.
Right? What do we do about like, I have belongings like clothes and shoes and stuff that are in the Bahamas that I had to leave behind because we couldn't go back to the Bahamas after all this shit went down. Right? So we all went straight back to our home countries. I still have my stuff that's lying somewhere in some room in the Bahamas. I don't know what happened to it.
What stuff do you remember?
Just like clothes and like electronics probably.
Yeah.
It's like,
Criminal charges, whole company went down. What about your clothes? Where'd they go?
Yeah. Hey, I care about my
clothes. He has some really nice, I don't know, he has some Gucci back there. Or like
no Gucci, unfortunately. But I have my trusty, t-shirt and shorts.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What's going on in your mind as you leave that room then? So you grilled her, or, you guys are talking about what kind of went wrong. And then what's like that car ride home like?
Yeah, well, actually, right after that meeting, all of us, with the exception of Caroline, we all just go out for drinks because, we're just trying to process what's happening and we need to talk about this with each other. So we all get drinks at this bar close to the office in Wan Chai in Hong Kong. And we're just like talking about, what do we do now? Like, do we just go back home? There's like just
Were you worried that you were exposed legally? Like, were you guys thinking about whether or not you'd also FaceTime or charges?
Yeah, we I guess knew that we would want to talk to lawyers to kind of just see what that process was like. I guess none of us were really worried about our own exposure. I mean, we basically found out that day, right? So we kind of knew that, like really we just wanted to help with that process as much as possible and like give as much of information as we could to the folks that were doing the investigating.
Could you tell that she was either like remorseful or regretful that you guys are put in that position? Like,
yeah, she was. I mean, she was like tearful, right? Like as she was explaining this, and she, she kept saying like, you know, I'm sorry, like I know I let you guys down and stuff like that. She did seem remorseful. That said, you know, she did what she did, and you know, she's an intelligent person, right? She's not like, she had full knowledge of what they were doing. So there's not really much sympathy for her from me or any of the Alameda employees, honestly. That said, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out during the trial, because I think there's lots of stuff that happened between Sam and Caroline behind closed doors that even that we didn't really know about. And yeah, really, like you know, obviously I'm not a fan of Caroline now, but really the I think Sam is at the core of what happened. And even among those top four, right? Sam, Caroline, Nishad, and Gary. I think whatever the decision they made, it's quite likely that Sam was the one leading that decision, and convincing the others to follow. So.
And then what happens after that? Like you guys go out for drinks, you go home. When do you get back? Like when do you fly home? You guys buy your own tickets? Like what's happening?
Yeah. So we all hand in our resignations the following day. We pack our stuff from the office. We all kind of separately book tickets to go back home because we're all from different places. And yeah, we just head back. I mean, I flew from Hong Kong to India, spent some time with family in India, and then came back to San Francisco.
Do you tell people here? Like, do you tell family? Do you tell friends? Like, do they make you? I assume you signed some sort of NDA or something.
No, I mean, I told family, friends. I mean, there's no NDA with the company really, and also the company doesn't exist anymore. So it's like,
oh shit, yeah, you're right.
Right. I mean, what's the like how does that work? Right, I don't even know.
Oh man.
But yeah, there's no.
It makes sense they didn't think this through. Like, as far as,
like what's gonna happen if the company collapses? Yeah. So you know, obviously, I'm telling my friends and family about it.
Yeah.
And just came back home and then took a few months to kind of like chill and rewind and like just process what happened.
And do you just read all this stuff on social media? Do you
just scrolling through Twitter, seeing what's going on, trying to follow the case and all that stuff.
Were you guys still talking to each other like on WhatsApp or whatever after like the employees?
Yeah, former employees. We have like a couple group chats.
It's always group chats.
We all stay in touch. Yeah, we stay in
touch. You
touch.
tell me about those high reg group chats.
So
his company. So you want to talk about high reg?
Well, yeah, we went out of business.
Okay.
So they raised $70 million, went out of business.
Just crashed and burned.
Okay.
Nobody knows what was behind the scenes, who was funding it, China, Russia. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Nobody really knows because we were told Tiger Global was funding it, but no one ever talked to anyone from Tiger Global.
Oh, so you guys have a similar story of just like,
but it's like it's not like we were doing anything. Like
they were just making.
At least you guys were working on like a great business.
They were just making TikTok, but for hiring.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It's like we were just
the disappointment in that. Oh, okay.
Just trying to help. No, it's like an engineer hire another engineer.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds like a Ponzi scheme now that I'm talking about it.
But, Ponzi scheme, but for hiring.
Yeah, right. But it's like, it's interesting because we all just put pieces together based on like what our managers were telling us and then things somebody hears and then they kind of take a life of its own.
Yeah.
And then it's all turned into a joke. Like, do you guys joke about this now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. There's definitely like a strange sense of humor in all of this, right?
But what is the group chat name?
It's the group chat name. I don't think it has a satisfying name. I don't think it has a name at all. It's just like the
names of
unnamed. Just the names of the people.
Ours was Hire Fest, like Fire Festival.
That's a good one.
That's really good.
Hire Festival.
And the best is our head of creative. He's the one that made it and made the title.
Yeah,
it's like we had good people, man. Yeah. He was good. Like if only we could have used all of that to build the company. But
yeah. All that creative talent.
Right.
Yeah.
What was it like going from such a high then of living in like the Bahamas, Hong Kong? You're like with these kind of like celebrities, whatever. And then you're just kind of back to like normal life.
Yeah. No, it's good. I like being I like being back to my normal life. Okay. It's funny when I when I was living in the Bahamas, I would sort of FaceTime my parents and show them like, hey, look, like the beach is right here, right? And they tell me like, make sure you don't get used to it because if you leave the company, it's probably gonna be a long time before you are able to again. like live in this kind of environment again. And I was like, that's very true. And I mean, I look back at my time at the company with mixed feelings, right? I mean, there was, I mean, like on the one hand, I got to meet these really cool people, live in this really cool place, do some really interesting work in terms of just like the technical aspect of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it ended in a spectacular way that hurt a lot of people, right? And I'm not happy about that, and I definitely don't want that to be the last like newsworthy thing that I work on.
You don't want that to be your legacy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How exposed were you personally? Because you said, okay, you guys have equity. Did you yourself put money into this? Like,
yeah. There was an employee stock purchase program whereby employees could purchase just company stock at significantly discounted prices, like 2 or even 4 times cheaper than what the investors had already paid for that stock.
Okay.
So obviously it seemed like a great deal, right? This is in late 2021 when Sam's face is on the cover of Forbes. He's everyone's talking about what a genius he is.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously I put in a lot of money into that because I really believed in the company.
Did you guys have the same thing at Fay where you can buy equity, or did you just get it?
You could buy tokens.
You can buy tokens.
You could buy Fay token.
Yeah.
The Tribe token was the speculative one, where the more you have, the more it goes up. Whatever.
But
Fay
it's the
itself
same
is a stable
incentive.
coin.
Like you should buy this if you believe in the company.
Absolutely.
Like, is that kind of the pitch?
Yeah. But it also wasn't ESPs. Like we had a very strange legal structure because we were a DAO.
Yeah.
But like I took half my salary in Tribe.
You did.
Which is their token.
Okay.
But I mean that was a whole.
But I'm saying, do you guys feel a pressure where it's like you're here? Hey, if you believe in this, you should buy the.
Yeah, it was.
You know what I mean?
It was heavily promoted within the company. Like Sam would post about it on Slack all the time.
Yeah,
it was something that was promoted.
Right?
Which
that's something. Yeah,
which is funny because in hindsight, it's like, oh, obviously they wanted that because that way, like that's money that they're paying you for your salary, but you're putting it back into the company to pump their stock price, right? Effectively,
it's a great idea.
Yeah. So it's like a great but also like devious idea.
Yes.
Right. The fact that they were sort of preying on their own employees, very devious. And there's some real horror stories among the employees. I mean, some of the folks in Hong Kong, right? They got paid not into their bank accounts, but they got the money deposited into their FTX accounts. So a lot of these folks, they only bothered to withdraw when they had to pay rent or pay bills or whatever.
That's so crazy, bro. That's like if Starbucks paid you in the gift card balance.
And the gift card, that's literally what it is.
That's so wild.
Yeah, but FTX was perceived as a safe brand, right? I mean, I had deposits in FTX even though like I didn't have to put money in there, right? I just had money on there because it seemed like a safe place to put it. And so a lot of these folks in Hong Kong, when the company went bankrupt and they couldn't withdraw that money, they literally were not able to pay rent. Like I heard a story of one of the Hong Kong employees who, he broke down crying, and like when one of his coworkers helped him out with food and rent money because he just did not have enough to make it through the week. Some really sad stories among the employees, and that's not even getting to the general public and like just normal people who are customers of this company who are affected, right? I mean, I'm sure you've heard the stories of just people losing everything and mortgaging their house and putting their money in, in like FTX or whatever. And there is some really very sad stories.
You overheard a conversation with Sam, kind of like in the early time at the company, and there was this quote you wrote in like your kind of like blog, which was, he said, "Decentralization is the future. The single most valuable thing you can do for yourself is to drop whatever you're doing and get into crypto."
Mm-hmm.
Do you still believe that?
Do I still believe that personally?
Yeah.
I do believe that. Yeah. I do believe that decentralization is the future. I do believe that there's so much genuine value in this space. A lot of it has been realized already, but it's been obscured by some of the stuff that's happened recently, like FTX and so on. And there's a lot that hasn't even been realized yet, right? So I'm very optimistic about the space. I'm optimistic about crypto, optimistic about decentralization. And that's why I'm building in this space.
So what are you building? It's called Astra.
Yeah, it's called Astra. What we're building is a universal connectivity layer for crypto markets.
What does that mean?
What it means is, currently, if you want to buy or sell traditional assets, it's a fairly straightforward process, and there's tools that exist to make that process really easy for you. Like if you want to buy stocks or whatever, you might go to the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ. If you want to buy commodity futures, you might go to the CME. But basically, there's a handful of venues where you go to buy and sell these assets, right? And there's companies that handle execution, that handle market data, that handle the brokerage aspect of things. All of this is super built out already. That's not the case in crypto, right? In crypto, you have not one or two trading venues, you have hundreds of trading venues, and these are split across centralized exchanges, you have decentralized exchanges, you've got a bunch of protocols where you can do trading and lending, all sorts of things. Then there's OTC, right? There's custodians also, many of which offer trading features. So it's a huge zoo of exchanges and protocols, which is very different from what we see in traditional finance. And the infrastructure to be able to integrate with these venues and do things like fetch data and place trades and transfer assets, this is not really built out in a satisfying way for businesses and individuals. So what we're doing is we're building all of this infrastructure. We're building a core primitive of robust, low latency, and extensive connectivity to crypto exchanges and DEXs. What this looks like for the end user is just an API that you can go to and you can send a request, and using the same data format, you can access Binance and Coinbase and Uniswap and DYDX and any venue you might want to trade on. So you can imagine folks like trading firms using this for building their integrations with exchanges and handling like those really low latency connections. You can imagine brokerages using this to offer trading features for their clients. You can imagine researchers or news people using historical market data to be able to see historical token prices, come up with some interesting research and novel insights. And you can imagine, pro traders, even retail traders, using like a unified user interface to be able to trade on, Binance perps or Coinbase products or any of these things all under one roof.
Why has no one built this yet? Because intuitively it sounds like it just should exist already.
Yeah, and it does exist in a number of different fragmented ways. And that I think is why, there's no real satisfying solution that builds this in a way that simultaneously solves for extensive connectivity, meaning integrating with not just 1 or 2 trading venues or even 5 or 10, but 100 trading venues. Because that's the reality of crypto is people are not trading on, just like a handful of venues. They're trading on all of these different venues.
Why? How do we consolidate that? Isn't this part of the problem? Yeah.
Well, I think it's not necessarily a problem, right? I think there's reasons why people like to spin up new protocols.
Yeah.
Because we don't know like which L1 is going to end up winning the race, right? We don't know if it's even going to be an L1 versus being an L2.
What do you mean by L1? You mean like Ethereum or?
Oh yeah, like Ethereum or the Bitcoin network or Solana or sort of any of these layer 1 blockchains that is directly handling consensus and block production.
So what's the difference between an L1 and an L2?
Yeah, so an L1, I guess there's differing definitions, right? People disagree on what counts as an L1 and L2, but the high level thing is an L1 typically is a blockchain that is fully handling its own consensus as well as block production. An L2 typically is running off chain, so it's not running on an L1, but it posts proofs of the blocks that it's creating to an L1. That's the high level distinction.
I mean, tell me if I'm off topic, but this brings me to a point of, remember when you said Binance was going to acquire FTX, right? Fire sale. And then people started withdrawing their money from FTX. Now, let's say JP Morgan Chase buys Bank of America and he tweets it, right? We're acquiring Bank of America.
Yeah.
I don't think really anyone would go and try to pull their money out of Bank of America.
Right.
Why is this different?
Well, I think it's different because like all of the context leading up to that event indicated that there was something going on, right? Just all of the negative press about SBF and about the company that was in the news, all of that, and just the volatility of FTT prices, all of those things, it made people realize that there was something going on. They just were not sure what.
That was
so when the acquisition,
like the straw that broke the camel's back.
It was the straw, exactly.
But we've had like Wells Fargo doing fraud, Wells Fargo having hacks, things like that. Other banks too,
right?
But again, like this never prompted any mass.
I think
level of.
Well, it sort of did, right? I mean, if you take what happened with SVB or First Republic, that's effectively what happened is, there was a lot of FUD going on and people withdrew their money.
Yeah.
I mean, in the case of First Republic,
right.
like it's not even, First Republic I think was affected because they're just another bank in San Francisco. They didn't even do anything wrong necessarily, right? But just their proximity to Silicon Valley Bank meant that people wanted to pull their money out. And both of them are now First Republic is acquired by, what was it? JP Morgan, maybe?
Yeah, was it JP Morgan? Yeah.
And then SVB, I'm not sure what's up with that, but I don't think it's operating.
Yeah. People that put their money in FTX were also a lot more sensitive to like the markets and general sentiment. Whereas like, so let's say I have my money in Chase, if some dude on Twitter starts talking about how Chase is gonna fail,
You wouldn't care.
I'm like, all right,
wouldn't
whatever.
care.
Like also it's like it's backed by the FTC. There's like some in, like
Right.
insurance
But
level
you wouldn't
like
just trust
250K.
Binance to keep, you know what I mean?
But
Like,
crypto already has this like air around it of like scam, which is a bad thing, but it's just also how it is. And when you start to, that's enough for, I'd say like a majority or a good amount of people to start pulling their money out. And then once a good amount of people start pulling their money out, everyone else starts pulling their money out. And by the end of it, it's like, it's not just that a tweet went out. It was like 10 people around me that have their money in FTX pulled it out. So I'm going to pull mine out too.
how are you looking at that with Astra? Because obviously you're using your prior experiences here to build something, and you obviously want to get away from everything that plagued Alameda and FTX.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So the way we're solving that is we're saying, hey, like we are not going to handle custody, so we're not storing anyone's funds. We are not going to handle counterparty risk. So we we are not giving you an OTC system that you're trading against.
Yeah.
We just give you this very simple technological primitive, which is direct market access to a bunch of different trading venues. Right. So the way it works is our customers come to us. They've already onboarded with each exchange. They already have their API keys. Exactly. It's like Plaid. In fact, the analogy I use is, it's a combination of like Plaid for crypto plus like, there's some stuff we're building around like really low latency that I guess is a bit different from what Plaid does. But yeah, it's a lot like Plaid in the sense that it's bring your own API keys, bring your own accounts, bring your own KYC.
That's really cool. I mean, crypto has a huge just like UX problem.
Yeah,
I was going to say, like, how do you does this need overall like mass adoption to succeed? Like how do we get like a blue collar worker who builds cars in Detroit
Let's go.
to buy this?
To buy this?
Or in general, like
Yeah.
buy and sell crypto, maximize the value of exactly what you're saying. Like does that need to happen for this industry to thrive?
Yeah. I think you're totally right that there's a huge usability problem in crypto. And the way that manifests is if you're, building something in the space of, DeFi or like core Web3 stuff, you're basically building for like, 10,000 users, maybe like 100,000 in the world. But there's not that many people who are even sophisticated enough to onboard themselves onto these systems, to get their money into these systems, and to be interested enough to use these products. Yeah. You're basically building for a hobbyist community at this point if you're building really like core decentralized applications. So the question is, how do we get that to be like some auto worker in Detroit? How do we get them to adopt crypto, right? And I think the answer is just a lot of thinking needs to be done on usability, right? I think there's a lot of initiatives in Ethereum around account abstraction, which are happening now, which I'm really enthusiastic about, right?
Because paper MPC,
right?
Abstract away all of your like wallets.
Exactly.
Email.
Yeah, and it's still an open question as to like what is the form that this is going to take? Is it going to be account abstraction that's baked into the blockchain you're using, which is the Ethereum example? Is it going to be MPC or something where you can use the same type of sharding logic across private keys for any blockchain, or some kind of more complex zero knowledge type thing where you don't really have to worry about any of the finer details of how that's being implemented. It's still an open question, right? It's an unsolved problem. We have not solved that problem, and really, I think there has to be a solution that does not involve just wrapping these decentralized services with a centralized wrapper, which historically is how this problem has been solved, right? Yeah. This is, Coinbase, Binance, FTX. This is the way that most big crypto companies have started. Part of what we're trying to do with Astra is build this technology in a way that it is owned by the user, and the user brings their own keys, and at no point do we have access to those keys, right? We're selling software to businesses, and those businesses have full control of all their data, all their keys, and they just use our software to make their life a lot easier. So that's the vision that I believe in. That's what that's the direction that we're building in, and I think more companies in this space need to go in that direction.
Yeah. What's it like being a founder now after working for SBF? Have you raised money?
Yeah. We just raised a 2 million seed round a few months ago.
Congratulations.
So thank you. And at this point, we're just heads down building. We have a team of 5 people. We're just building the product, talking to users, getting the V1 ready.
Who are these 5?
These 5 are just like a combination of some folks that I've worked with in the past and just friends and stuff like that.
And then
what spot in the Bahamas did you guys get?
No spot in the Bahamas just yet. I think that may be in our distant future.
Series A?
No, that's
seed,
Hong Kong.
Seed, yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're jumping the gun.
So, yeah. Yeah, just seed for now. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's it like putting the founder hat on after working for such a well-known founder? Have you taken any of his habits? You're raising on League of Legends.
No League of Legends. I never. Maybe I should, right? Because it sounds like it was a positive in the case of SBF. No League of Legends. I mean, it's putting the founder hat on is extremely fun and really exciting. I mean, really, it's not one hat. It's like 100 different hats that I'm having to wear every day, and just swapping between them and getting to work on all these different roles within the company, and talking to really cool people and being able to come here and talk to you guys, for example, is it's pretty amazing, right? It's something that the origin of this company is really in a lot of the problems that I saw at Alameda in terms of just like our own technical infrastructure.
Yeah.
And we're trying to solve a lot of those problems. So it's sort of directly related to stuff I've done in the past. And it's something that I've been passionate about ever since I, struggled to build exchange integrations at Alameda. And it's a problem that, I know that so many businesses in crypto face. And it's a problem that, if this is solved in a satisfying way for these businesses, that's going to propagate all the way down to the individual. And it's going to give people, normal people, normal traders, much easier and much faster and much more seamless access to markets. So I'm thrilled to be building this. It's exciting, like every day when I wake up and get to work on this. And it's awesome.
Interesting.
Where's the product at right now?
We are basically building the V1. We have integrations with a bunch of venues already. We have about 5 centralized exchanges. We have 3 DEXs. We're working on 1 custodian. And really we're just like working on testing this, making sure it's super solid, super robust. And the plan is to have a beta release out in 2 months. And we have some customers we're talking to. And, if anyone sees this and would like to get in touch, would absolutely love to talk to you guys also.
How should they reach out?
So our website is astra-api.dev. That's Astra, ASTRA-api.dev. We're also on Twitter. It's Astra_API. And you can also find me. My name is Adi, but my full name is Adi Baradwaj. You can probably find that on
We'll put
the
in the
description.
link. Yes, sir.
Yeah, awesome.
And then what's your go-to-market strategy going to be? Because the most interesting thing to me about crypto companies is just seeing how they go to market. Like Family was insane.
Yeah. So the way that we're building this is it's a very boring, very standard, B2B SaaS company, right? Okay. No fancy token sale. There's not going to be any token, right? Hate to break it to you, but there will never be an Astra token. Okay. No ICO happening soon. So it's a very boring business.
You're just keeping us out, bro. You don't want us.
You don't want us to be able to get in on that.
You can be equity investors if you like, but unfortunately no token. So I'm not gonna let you buy and then dump, unfortunately, which is all too common.
God, he pointed at me.
He didn't point at us. He pointed at
me. That's crazy.
I saw the look in your eyes.
Bro, like he know too much about gambling. He definitely better short this.
I know. I was hearing SB. I was like, damn, he like me for real.
He's just like you.
Yeah. Like, damn, I just got to start playing League of Legends.
Yeah.
That's going to be harder for you than building.
That might be hard. That's going to be hard. I don't have great video game hand-eye coordination skills.
Sam wasn't great either. Apparently he was stuck at like what is it, bronze or whatever? I don't know. I don't play. I
think you're just playing it.
Yeah. Yeah, supposedly he actually wasn't that good at League of Legends. That's what people are saying.
He just did it.
It's
like playing Forza while you try to like raise and coming in last every single time.
But I think it's also an interesting point to add to the GTM. Okay. You did a keynote here on building your personal brand as a founder.
True.
One of the things of crypto I think hamstrings it is there's no founder example of like, this guy's killing it, also doing well, good person. There's no leaks of stories at a mass scale. Like, this is, I guess, a question for both of you. Mm-hmm. Like, are you thinking about that in terms of like, do we need better founder examples here? Can you be one of those? And it's like, if you were advising or still in Web3, like, is that something you would kind of convey with the GTM?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I completely agree that like there needs to be much better founder examples in crypto. If you take, take the most. Well, arguably the most successful company in crypto right now, which is Binance, right? I mean,
CZ?
CZ is probably the richest person in crypto right now.
Yeah.
Probably also one of the richest people in the world, right?
Wow. And more successful than Coinbase.
Oh yeah. Okay. More successful than Coinbase for sure. Purely because Coinbase only offers spot assets. Binance heavily focuses on derivatives.
I gotcha.
And derivatives volume is like probably an order of magnitude higher than spot volume for crypto. So people really like perpetual futures. They really like crypto derivatives. And like a lot of that, honestly, is like a function of the fact that people like to speculate on crypto assets, right? And derivatives, it's a lot easier to go long, go short, do that on leverage. So Binance is the number one crypto exchange, and CZ is, I guess people have different opinions on him, but maybe not the best example of like an outstanding founder figure who you would want to follow in terms of just like, there's a lot of suspicious stuff that's been going around about Binance also.
I think of like Jay as a good example. Jay Bhavnani. So he's building Waymont right now. He was the CEO of Rari back when I was at Faye. And he's kind of just like, before Rari, he did Ambo. And all of these projects just kind of, for the most part, like worked. And he's kind of built this like reputation. And I think his like personal Twitter account is what's driving a lot of growth for Waymont, because now it's like, for context, Waymont is building like crypto storage for like high net worth individuals. And so, or like custody for high net worth individuals. And so you really have to have like a good, strong personal brand to be able to convince these like rich people that they should store their money with you. But a lot of, I think, his strategy, or I don't think he's thinking about his founder strategy, but like, I think a lot of it just comes from he's done the thing before, and then now he's like building it in public.
That's one way to do it, but you probably need like a Sam Altman.
What do you mean?
In terms of somebody who represents the whole movement.
Oh, for sure.
Right? It's like, in terms of like, he kind of gets to speak. If he says something, the industry moves one way or another off of trustworthiness, not panic. If that makes sense.
I agree. I think the closest we have to that right now within crypto, or at least certainly within crypto trading, is probably Brian Armstrong.
I was thinking that.
From Coinbase, right?
Yeah.
Just in terms of being like a respectable kind of like honorable figure who's leading the movement, at least within the U.S. For U.S. crypto regulation. So I definitely look up to him, and I think he's great, but we could definitely use more of those figures.
Right. So hopefully you can be the.
Certainly hope so.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have a strong Twitter. You might as well use it for good.
I mean, you can blow that account up with these FTX stories. There's
tons of. I've got some more content in the backlog that I want to start pushing out as soon as the trial starts in 2 weeks. So we're going to do some posting leading up to that, and also during the trial and after. And the goal is to like I want to tell the story, and like there's lots of people who are interested in this story. So I think the like these stories need to be out there, and obviously, if that leads to positive outcomes for myself and the company, that's obviously great as well.
Heck yeah.
Awesome. Well, speaking of your Twitter, we do this thing.
Oh yeah, I got did a little bit of digging in your Twitter.
Oh yeah. Oh, so some digging. I'm scared.
Well, I'm trying to keep it more lighthearted. Yeah. So I'm gonna toss like the heavy ones.
All right.
There's no point. I mean, I feel like we've gone pretty heavy here. This one's good. October 4th, 2022. Okay, you either die a Bateman or you live long enough to see yourself become the Batman.
Yeah, that was my first tweet, right?
American Psycho?
Yeah. So like the joke is like this joke just popped into my head, and I thought it was so funny that I had to tweet this. Right? Basically, it's Christian Bale, right? He plays Batman in the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy,
and Patrick Bateman
in
American Psycho,
right? And
have you seen American Psycho?
I was like rewatching it last night.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, great. So I don't know why. There's another question for that. We'll do that later. But go ahead.
That is a good question. Yeah. No, and the quote is from the Batman trilogy, right? You either die a hero, or you
that's good.
Yeah. So I just thought, I don't know, it just popped into my head. I started laughing out loud. I had to.
I love how you phrase it like that. Like just live long enough to see yourself become Batman.
Become Batman. Yeah.
And this is before the whole Batman thing took over TikTok of everyone thinking they're Batman.
Oh yeah.
What is that?
I don't know.
Do you know what that is?
No.
Why you look at me like that and say, "What is that?"
Because you're like, I don't know. You are a media guy, so I was like, you must know something.
Do you follow the TikTok trends?
I see them on Twitter, actually. I don't use TikTok, but I've seen enough of them on Twitter. I get them sent on Reels.
I just know the ones of like Batman beating people up for like...
Of course, that's what you would know.
Filling up soda in the water cup, and then Batman like beats you up.
I saw that exact one.
That's the crime.
Right?
Wait, like, that was actually hilarious.
That was pretty good.
Like you litter on the street, and then you see Batman come up from behind you. Yeah, like I've seen those. I think this one's good. You can relate to this too. Like, so designer says, "What should I put on the poster?" PM IDK just write something inspirational. Designer put something inspirational on.
What is it? Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so that's an actual, like, that's a sign that's in the WeWork that I work in.
Oh, really?
600 California. And it's hilarious because like each floor has one of these.
Yeah.
And all of them are like very serious, inspirational
Is that
quotes.
the one with the square windows?
The one with square windows. I
That's
don't know.
650 California.
That's
Never
650.
mind.
I think. Yeah. That's 650.
Okay.
Yeah. This one's in 600.
Yeah.
And it's like all these super serious captions on the WeWork images, and then this one is just something inspirational. That's literally all it says.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty funny.
All right. Let's end on this one because it's timely.
Yeah.
Did you saw the Apple keynote with the Marvel skit?
Wait, is that the one about Mother Nature?
Yeah, the Mother Nature one.
Yeah.
But you put like, so you quote tweeted it. Marvel humor and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race.
Yeah.
Explain.
I mean, I say this as someone who, like, I watched all the Marvel movies, right? I was like a huge fan of that shit. You know, I was waiting super eagerly for Avengers Endgame, right? So I watched all of those. And after watching all of that over the course of, you know, the first Iron Man came out in 2008 or something.
Yeah.
It's just it's so tiring, right? Just the same humor again and again. You know, they found a formula that works, and now they're just exploiting it and you know, just making it more and more excessive with all their new movies. And I don't find the new ones that funny anymore. And I feel like that's also bled more broadly into popular culture as like, oh, these like, you know, funny, like quick quips.
Yeah.
And really, I think Marvel started that movement of that style of comedy content.
Yeah.
And I think that has kind of bled into the Apple keynote as well. I mean, not that like obviously it's a, you know, it's a positive message.
I was gonna say, yeah.
I obviously support like, you know, environmental initiatives and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I wish it was a bit less cringe.
Like I definitely respected the effort from them.
Yeah.
Like I thought Tim Cook was funny.
He was actually a
funny,
decently good actor.
Like he's not a bad. I think
He was good.
they're all employees, right?
They've
Am
got
I wrong
to be.
here? So some of them are actually employees in the skit. From what I understood.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, kind of respect the effort at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Oh no,
Trying things.
I definitely respect like the actual stuff that they've done in terms of like, you know, making their business more sustainable. Right. That stuff is amazing. But yeah, could do with a couple less Marvel jokes or Marvel style jokes.
So y'all don't want to see a Marvel crypto superhero.
Marvel crypto superhero.
Yeah, I don't want to see that.
I don't know.
Well, what's his superpower?
Huh?
What's his superpower?
Regulating markets.
Ooh.
Yeah, we already have one. That's Gary Gensler, right? He's the crypto superhero.
I guess who would he fight?
Batman?
Fights Batman?
SBF.
Nah, Batman.
Oh, Batman. Yeah.
Sorry.
SBF would be like the collateral damage of like.
SBF is the car that like gets a building dropped on top of it.
He's the one citizen that gets beat up by the Joker.
All right, that's how you know we need to end this episode. We're gonna put links in the description, but thanks so much for coming on the episode.
Yep.
Gotta
Thank
end it
you
off
guys.
With your final words.
Oh.
Final
crazy.
words.
Final words.
Final words. Let's focus on building cool shit.